So I want to talk about how to do the loose leash walking exercise today. Loose leash walking is a really important exercise to teach the dog how to not pull on the leash. If I can engage the dog's brain, then I don't have to rely on the equipment. So really what I want to do is teach the dog to follow direction, to focus on the handler, and to pay attention a little bit more to us on the walk rather than us trying to control him with the leash. Walking equipment is super important. So right now I've got little Frankie here. He's a small breed, and I highly recommend small breeds only wear a harness, because if we have a collar on their necks, we can actually damage their trachea. So we want to make sure we have the appropriate walking equipment. When we get into large breed dogs, I'll talk a little bit about the appropriate equipment for larger breed dogs. There are typical traditional harnesses where the leash attaches to the back, which isn't necessarily the best piece of equipment to use because now the dog has more to pull against. I prefer a harness that attaches to the front, and the brand I prefer is called Easy Walk because it tends to work the best. Some of the other harnesses have a panel in the front, and the panel just ends up pulling off to the side. But I'll address that later in a different video. But for today, I want to show you how to do the loose leash walking exercise and getting the dog to focus on us. You want to make sure you have some of the dog's kibble or treats. And I like to use the dog's kibble because then I know exactly how much food intake the dog has. So we can take a little bit of kibble out of each meal and use it for training throughout the day. So the first thing is I want to get Frankie to smell the food. So I'm going to let him smell that kibble. So he's now focused on me. Frankie, this way. I'm going to use the words this way to get him to follow. And when he's looking up at me, Frankie, this way, I want to reward him when he's doing that. So I'm not going to pull on the leash. I want to make sure there's slack on that leash. I want to keep that eye contact. Frankie, this way. Good boy, Frankie. Good boy. And then reward while he's walking. Good boy, Frankie. And you can also start to withhold the food a little bit. So once we start to get a little bit of reliability and he starts to actually follow, I can give him praise. Good boy, Frankie. Good boy. Frankie, this way. And I'm really focusing on not pulling on that leash. The other thing with loose leash walking is he's actually allowed to go wherever he wants. I just don't want him to be cutting me off. If he is, then we can just kind of move him away with the leash a little bit. One other thing to practice with loose leash walking, or two other things, is the come command and the sit command. So with the come command, just let him randomly walk away and then call him back. Frankie, come. Then reward him when he comes back to you. And for the sit command, the right hand sweeps up. Frankie, sit. Good boy. When he's in a sit, he's got to stay there until you say, Frankie, okay. Good boy, Frankie. Good boy. Good boy. What a boy. Good boy. The one thing to pay attention to is where we position the treat. So when I let him smell the food, I want him to smell it, and then I want to bring it up right away because I want him to look up. If I have it in that intermediate position, that's what's going to happen. He's going to jump up for it. So let him smell the food, bring it up towards your chest so he looks up like that, and then reward him right away. And then release if he's sitting. Frankie, sit. Frankie, okay. Good boy. That's a good boy. Good boy, Frankie. Good boy. So again, practice loose leash walking to build that eye contact and that working relationship and to get the dog to focus on us. And then we don't really have to rely on the leash quite as much.